Black God perspective. Well, hello and good afternoon to everyone. I want to welcome you all here. So, how much do you cost, Balaam? Now we're going to look at Balaam, but I want to let you guys know that off the top of my head, I know that we're not going to equate ourselves with Balaam, but rather it's my hope that we see any Balaam in us that we can get out, that we can just push out of the way. I want to say hello and welcome to Amy Duran and Steve Willis, as well as Deb Woods. That's the crowd, the mass pandemonium that all of you guys are here with us today. So I want to say welcome, welcome. Let's get right into the Bible reading, because what we are going to see is, and we're going to read it straight through as it's written, okay? But what we're going to see here is that there is a major correlation with people that we know, that Balaam had made a few decisions that he possibly may have regretted later because he tried to flip the script. Sharon Marie, hello, pretty lady. So, yeah, he tried to sort of flip the script a little bit. But let's get right into the reading of Numbers 22. So Balak summons Balaam, or Baalam, all right? Then the Israelites traveled on, and we're reading it straight through as it's written. Then the Israelites traveled on and camped into the plains of Moab near the Jordan, across from Jericho. Now Balak, the son of Zippor, saw that Israel saw what they had done to the Amorites, and Moab was terrified of the people because they were numerous. It was a whole lot of them. Indeed, Moab dreaded the Israelites. So the Moabites said to the elders of Midian, "This horde will devour everything around us, as an ox licks up the grass of the field." Since Balak, the son of Zippor, was the king of Moab at the time, he sent messengers to Balaam, son of Beor, at Pethor, which is by the Euphrates, in the land of his people. Quote, "Behold, a people has come out of Egypt," said Balak. "They cover the face of the land and have settled next to me." So if that's not a bad neighbor, I don't know what is. They've settled right next to me. So can you please come and put forth a curse on this people, because they are too mighty for me. So it's far too many of them. I don't want them anywhere near me. I need you to come and put a curse on them, please. He goes on to say, "Perhaps I may be able to defeat them and then drive them out of the land, for I know that those you bless are blessed, and those that you curse are cursed." So the elders of Moab and Midian departed with the fees for divination in hand. They came to Balaam, and they said, and they relayed to him the words of Balak. Quote, they go, "Spend the night here, and I will give you the answer that the Lord speaks to me," is what Balaam told him. So the princes of Moab stayed with Balaam. Then God came to Balaam and said, "Who are these men with you?" And Balaam said to God, "Balak, the son of Zippor, the king of Moab. The king of Moab sent me this message. Behold, a people has come out of Egypt, and they cover the face of the land. Now come and put a curse on them for me," he says. "Perhaps I may be able to fight against them and drive them away." But God said to Balaam, "Do not go with them. You are not to curse this people, for they are blessed." Okay? So Balaam got up the next morning, and he said to his princes, Balak's princes, "Go back to your homeland, because the Lord has refused to let me go with you." Now you guys shoot. Go on now. Scram. Skedaddle. And the princes of Moab arose and returned back to Balak and said, "Balaam refused to come with us." Then Balak sent out other princes, more numerous, more distinguished than the first set of cats. And they came to Balaam saying, "This is what Balak, the son of Zippor, says. Please, let nothing hinder you from coming to me, for I will honor you richly and do whatever you say. So please, come and put a curse on this people for me," with an exclamation point. I need it done yesterday. Hurry up. I mean, these guys talking like these are just a bunch of, craziness. Anyway, he goes on to say in verse 18, but Balaam replied to the servants of Balak and says, if Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I could not do anything small or great to go beyond the command of the Lord my God. So now, please stay here overnight, as the others did, that I may find out what else the Lord has to tell me. I mean, maybe he's changed his mind. I don't know. I don't think he will, but I'll try, basically, paraphrasing. That night, God came to Balaam and said, since these men have come to summons you, get up and go with them, but you must only do what I tell you to do. So in the morning, Balaam got up and saddled his donkey, and he went with the princes of Moab. Now the angel in verse 22, the angel and the donkey. This is what you've heard of this before. All right. So then God's anger was kindled because Balaam was going along, and the angel of the Lord stood up on the road to oppose him. Balaam was riding his donkey, and his two servants were with him. And then when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road and drawn its sword in his hands, she turned off the path and went into the field. So Balaam starts beating the donkey. Whack, whack, get up, get up, get up. Starts to beat her, return to the path. Verse 24 says, then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow passage between two vineyards with the walls on either side. And the donkey saw the angel of the Lord and pressed herself against the wall, crushing Balaam's foot against it. So he beat her again. He began to beat her at once, and then the angel of the Lord moved on ahead and stood in a narrow place, where there was no room to turn to the right or the left. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she lay down under Balaam, and he became furious. And he beat her with his staff. I mean, he's beaten. There's a lot of beating going on. Then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth and said to Balaam, what have I done to you that you have beaten me 3 times? Balaam answered the donkey, you have made a fool of me. If I had a sword in my hand, I would kill you right now. But the donkey said to Balaam, am I not the donkey you have ridden all of your life until today? Have I treated you this way before? No, he replied. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand. And Balaam bowed low and fell on his face down. And the angel of the Lord asked him, why have you beaten your donkey with these 3 times? For these 3 times? Behold, I've come to you. I've come out to oppose you, because your way is perverse before me. The donkey saw me and turned away from me 3 times. If she had not turned away by now I would surely have killed you and let her live. I have sinned, Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, for I didn't realize that you were standing in the road to confront me, and now, if this is displeasing in your sight, then I'll just go on back home. But the angel of the Lord said to Balaam, go with the men, but you are to speak only what I tell you. So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. When Balak heard that Balaam was coming, he went out to meet him at the Moabite city on the Arnon border at the edge of his territory. And he said to Balaam, did I not send you an urgent summons? Did I not send you an urgent summons? Why did you not come to me? Am I really not able to richly reward you? See, I have come to you. So what Balaam's trying to say is what had happened was, I have come to you. But can I say just anything? I must speak only the word that God puts in my mouth. So Balaam accompanied Balak, and they came to Kirahath Huzoth. Now, if Ronnie Man was here right now, he would be real smooth with it. That's Kirahath Huzoth. Verse 40 says, Balak sacrificed cattle and sheep and gave portions to Balaam and the princes who were with him. The next morning, Balak took Balaam, try that, and brought him up to Bamoth Baal. From there, he could see the outskirts of the camp of the people. Now let's go on. Let's go on to the next one. So are you getting the gist of what's going on? So I'm going to tell you what I see when I see this. It just reminds me of being broken down, just broken down. Let me come on the other side where you guys are. It does. It reminds me of being broken down. It reminds me of trying again. But here's what's going to happen. And I want you guys to pay very close attention, because this is what happens to us in a lot of situations. We ourselves. Okay. All right, here we go. We're going into Numbers chapter 23 and the first verse. Then Balaam said to Balak, build for me 7 altars here, and prepare for me 7 bulls and 7 rams. So Balak did as Balaam had instructed, and Balak and Balaam offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Stay here by your burnt offering while I am gone, Balaam said to Balak. Perhaps the Lord will meet me, and whatever he reveals to me, I'll tell you. So Balaam went off to a barren height, and God met him. And he says, I have set up 7 altars, Balaam says, and on each altar I have offered a bull and a ram. Then the Lord put a message in Balaam's mouth, saying, return to Balak and give him this message. Now, mind you, he put a message in his mouth. He didn't say he told him what the message was. He said he put a message into his mouth, which means he has no clue of what was said until he has to say it. So it says, then the Lord put a message in Balaam's mouth, saying, return to Balak and give him this message. So he returned to Balak, who was standing there beside his burnt offering with all the princes of Moab. And Balaam lifted up an oracle, saying, Balak brought me from Aram, the king of Moab, from the mountains of the east. Come, he said, put a curse on Jacob for me. Come and denounce Israel. How can I curse what God has not cursed? How can I denounce what the Lord has not denounced? For I see them from atop the rocky cliffs, and I watch them from the hills. Behold, a people dwelling apart, not reckoning themselves among the nations. But who can count the dust of Jacob, or the number, even a fourth of Israel? Let me die the die of the righteous. Let my end be like theirs. Then Balak said to Balaam, what have you done to me? I brought you here to curse my enemies, and behold, you have only blessed them. But Balaam replied, should I not speak exactly what the Lord puts in my mouth? Then Balak said to him, please come here. Please come with me to another place where I can see them. You will only see the outskirts of their camp, not all of them. And from there, curse them for me. So Balak took him. This cat is really, really relentless, but he's trying to wear him down. He's really trying to wear him down, and that's exactly what the devil does. He will try to wear you down. So Balak took him to the field of Zephoim, to the top of Pisgah, where he built 7 altars and offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Balaam said to Balak, stay here beside your burnt offering while I meet the Lord over there. He's really trying to work it out for him. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go up here to the finance officer, and I know the car is looking like you really wanted. You just might lose it. Let me see what we can do for you. You stay here, and I'll be right back. So it says, you stay here beside your burnt offering while I meet the Lord over there. And the Lord met with Balaam and put a message in his mouth, saying, return to Balak and speak what I tell you. So he returned to Balak, who was standing there with his burnt offering with the princes of Moab. What did the Lord say? Balak asked. Then Balaam lifted up an oracle, saying, Arise, O Balak, and listen, give ear to me, O son of Zippor. God is not a man that he should lie, or a son of man that he should change his mind. Does he speak and not act? Does he promise and not fulfill? I have indeed received a command to bless. He has blessed. I cannot change it. He considers no disaster for Jacob. He sees no trouble for Israel. The Lord their God is with them, and the shout of the king is among them. God brought them out of Egypt with strength like a wild ox, for there is no spell against Jacob and no divination against Israel. It will now be said of Jacob and Israel, what great things God has done. Behold, the people rise like a lioness. They rouse themselves like a lion, not resting until they devour their prey and drink the blood of the slain. Now Balak said to Balaam, Then neither curse them at all, nor bless them at all. But Balaam replied, Did I not tell you that whatever the Lord says I must do? Please come, said Balak, that I will take you to another place, and perhaps it will please God that you curse them for me from there. And Balak took him again to the top of Peor, which overlooks the wasteland. And then Balaam said, Build me 7 altars here and prepare me 7 bulls and 7 rams. So Balak did as Balaam had instructed, and he offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Now we'll go to 24. This is really amazing. And when Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he did not resort to sorcery as on the previous occasions, but he turned his face toward the wilderness. When Balaam looked up and saw Israel encamped tribe by tribe, the Spirit of God came upon him, and he lifted up an oracle, saying, This is the prophecy of Balaam, son of Beor, the prophecy of a man whose eyes are open, the prophecy of one who hears the words of God, who sees a vision from the Almighty, who bows down with his eyes wide open. How lovely are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel. They spread out like palm groves, like gardens beside a stream, like aloes the Lord has planted, like cedars beside the water. Water will flow from his buckets, and his seed will have abundant water. His king will be greater than Agag, and his kingdom will be exalted. God brought him out of Egypt with strength like a wild ox, to devour hostile nations and crush their bones, to pierce them with arrows. He crouches, he lies down like a lion, like a lioness who dares to rouse him. Blessed are those who bless you, and cursed are those who curse you. So at this point, what does Balak do? At this point, he goes on to dismiss him. Excuse me. He goes on to dismiss him and to let him know, we're done here. We're done here. We're done here. And so Balak's anger burned against Balaam. And he struck his hands together and said, Balaam, bruh man, I summons you. He basically said, you know what, dude? I summons you to do a gig, and you did not do it. He said, Okay, I summon you to curse my enemies. But behold, you have persisted in blessing them 3 times. You did it these 3 times, therefore flee at once to your home. I said I would richly reward you, but instead the Lord has denied your reward. You see what you don't let the Lord talk you out of? You see? You ever hear somebody say something like that? Now you see, you got to be all saintly, all right? You got to be all holy. That's what you got to be. You got to be all holier than thou. But I tried to hook you up, and you don't let the Lord talk you out of it. I got you, Ronnie. You got it. It's in your inbox. Blessing you 3 times, therefore flee at once to your home. And I said that I would richly reward you, but instead the Lord has denied your reward. Balaam answered Balak, did I not already tell the messengers you sent me that even if Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I couldn't do anything of my record, good or bad, to go beyond the command of the Lord? Now I will speak whatever the Lord says. Now I'm going back to my people. But come, let me warn you what his people will do to your people in the days to come. Then Balaam lifted up an oracle, saying, this is the prophecy of Balaam, son of Beor. The prophecy of a man whose eyes are open, the prophecy of a man who hears the word of God, who has knowledge from the Most High, who sees a vision from the Almighty, who bows down with the eyes wide open. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not hear. A star will come forth from Jacob, and the scepter will rise from Israel. He will crush the skulls of Moab, and he will strike down all the sons of Sheth. Edom will become a possession, as will Seir, his enemy. But Israel will perform with valor. A ruler will come from Jacob and destroy the survivors of the city. How do you like them apples? Then Balaam saw Amalek and lifted up an oracle, saying, Amalek was first among the nations, but his end is destruction. Next, he saw the Kenites and lifted up an oracle, saying, your dwelling place is secure, and your nest is set in a cliff. Your cane will be destroyed when Asher takes you captive. Once more, Balaam lifted up an oracle, saying, who can live unless God has ordained it? Ships will come from the coast of Cyprus. They will subdue Asher and Eber, but they too will perish forever. Then Balaam arose and returned to his homeland, and Balak went his own way. Dust. Sorry about that. Dust just came through the vault, the vent. All righty, let's see here. All right, so we're going to go on to the next chapter. 25. There we go. While Israel was staying in Shittim, excuse me for coughing on the air, but that's where I am, right on the air. And I'm also trying to let Ronnie know, hey, Ronnie, I sent you a link. Also trying to let him know that I sent him a link. Huh. Okay. Hopefully he'll get it. Okay, so while Israel was staying in Shittim, the men began to indulge in sexual immorality with the daughters of Moab, who also invited them to the sacrifices of their gods. And the people ate and bowed down to these gods, so Israel joined in worship of Baal. Now let me tell you something. How did they know to do this? The way that they knew to do this was because Balaam went on ahead and gave a secret. That's exactly what he did. Even though he did not sell him out with his own hand, he sold Yasharal out by saying, hey, you know what? Go on ahead and hook him up with the chicks. Hook up all the chicks. If you get them involved in, if you get them involved in illicit relationships and things of that nature, then you're going to have them. So he didn't do it himself, but he did give them a tip. And with that tip, the tip was, this is how you can subdue them. So you see, even though you don't see that right at the point where we are right now, even though you don't see that at the point in the teaching that we're in, that's exactly what those of you in the chat, you may not see it, but that's exactly what happened. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. He was able to tell them how to subdue them. And you just saw that in the last passage where he was like, well, gotta go home. Gotta go home now. Gotta leave. And that's exactly how we end up where we are right now. So while Israel was staying in Shittim, the men began to indulge in sexual immorality with the daughters of Moab, who also invited them to the sacrifices of their gods. And you know exactly how easily a man will follow. I'm going to go to church with you, girl. I told you I was going to go to church. All they got to do is say, come on, you want me? I need you to, convert to what I believe in. I'm going to church with you. Don't worry, girl. And he don't believe in a bit more of what you believe in than the man on the moon. But there you see them say, oh, wow, what? What? Wait a minute. Hey, do y'all see that face? Are you here? Are you in the building?
I'm trying to be. I am trying.
Oh, wait a minute. I wanted everybody to see your face, but you stopped the camera. You took a picture, it looks like. Okay. I'm so glad that you are here. And, it's amazing to me as I read this because it sounds just like what goes on right now today. That's the reason why I'm a little more relaxed in reading it, because all it takes is a cat to hear, to get some chick that's not like him and say, well, you know what, girl, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start going to church with you. And that's exactly what happens here in Numbers 25:1. When Israel was staying there in Shittim, the men began to indulge in sexual immorality with the daughters of Moab, who also invited them to take sacrifices for their gods, and all the people ate and bowed down to the gods. So Israel joined in the worship of Baal, which they still doing right now today, of Peor. And the anger of the Lord burned against them. Yeah, it burned against them. And then the Lord said to Moses, he said to Moses, take all of the leaders of the people and execute them, and in broad daylight before the Lord, so that his fierce anger may turn away from Israel. So Moses told the judges of Israel, each of you must kill all of his people, all of his men who have joined in the worship of Baal of Peor. Now, I know you wanted to reach out. I know you wanted to join. Hey, what you got?
I don't know what's going on. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can see you. It's a still. It doesn't. At first, you were waving. I saw you waving, and it looks like it just captured you right then. If you were trying to make it a picture of yourself, because that's what it did. It made a picture of you. Yeah. Can you see yourself?
Come on, no, I cannot.
Okay, well we can, and we see you. We see you
Well,
waving.
you see a picture of me.
Yeah, we see a picture that you took
Oh my
while
goodness.
you were on your break, but it's a good picture.
Well, I don't even know how I even took a picture. I apologize. I'm just coming in and messing up the flow, the workflow. You have such a nice momentum going. Um, but nonetheless,
Come on with it.
no, I wanted to ask. So, what do you get? What do you get out of this text, out of this whole storyline?
What I get is how there's several pieces that I have in my notes, but I'm just gonna give it one blanket thing. Is how much do you cost? The reason why I said how much do you cost Balaam is because it may not be this one thing that you do, but maybe it's the next thing that you do. You know what I'm saying? It may not be this to make you give up following his statutes, but maybe it'll be this. So he keeps trying and he keeps trying, and you be like, well, no, I'm not gonna do that. Okay, but what does, how many licks does it take to get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop? What is it that is going to take for you to leave what you're supposed to do and do the other thing? And yet we have the answer to that, because every one of us have had a situation where we just say, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. But then all of a sudden we notice that we give up a little because he kept hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting. But what did he do? He told them exactly how to sway them. Now, I can't give this to you, but what I will tell you is maybe if you do this, or maybe if you do that, that, you know, maybe this will happen. You were there, but now you're not. But now you're gone.
Can
He's
you hear me though?
gone. Yeah, but I could see you a few seconds ago, but now your picture is gone completely.
I don't know what's going on.
What's going
I'm
on?
I'm just
What's
here, y'all.
going on?
Well, okay, so
I
this
think
this
it's
is
the weather
what
wearing him down, wearing him down. They wore him down, and then he finally went on ahead. Either way it goes, he still ended up selling him out. It's very, 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 very. He received word. He got the truth, and after he got the truth, he still sold him out. Even after all of that, he was gonna beat the donkey down. He beat the donkey up. The donkey's the only one. Donkey had more sense than he did. So you could say he didn't have the sense God gave a donkey. That's what you could say. You're gone again. You came, then you left again. Here, I tell you what. I'm gonna remove the first one, and then when you come back in, all you got to do is come back in. I know you can still hear me. I'm gonna remove it because you had two of you in here. I want the one that's live, but y'all can't see me live because I got my hair. It's time for a touch up around the edges. Ah, okay, okay. All right, he's coming back, you guys. But take Charlie's gone. My Charlie left. Oh, he's about to jump on the road. Aw, my brother. Great to stop and say hello. We're glad you did. We love your commitment and your love for us over here. Ronnie Man. Yep, that was Ronnie. He's coming back. I'm going to pause until he comes back in. I'm going to pause until he comes back in. But you know what? I'm telling you, this is what I get out of the story, because I do feel like there were so many things that were going on where he kept trying to get him to do it, kept trying to get him to do it. But what he did do was he gave them the secret as to how they could subdue them as a people. And the way that he did that was really, really crafty. He did it very, very stealth like, because it was, hey, just do this, just do that. Yeah, just do this and just do that. Yeah, put this over here and do this and do that, and then you'll be able to do XYZ. So even though Balaam was receiving a true word and a sure true word, he should have cut it off at the joint, just at the beginning, just at the onset. But he didn't stop it at the onset. He allowed it to continue. He allowed it to go on and on and on. And that's a problem. That's a problem. Had he stopped him from Jump Street, it would have been all good. But he didn't. He kept saying, well, let me go talk to him and say this. Well, let me go over there. But that's how we need to stand against the devil. We need to say, hey, look here. No is no. Get away from me. And then turn around and then go the other way and then have nothing else to do with him. All right, so hopefully we have him in here now, ladies and gentlemen. All right, here you go. Hey, there he is right there. Hey, Ronnie, how you doing,
Hey,
buddy?
I'm okay. I'm all right.
Good, good, good.
I don't know
So,
what's going on, man, but listen, this I don't know where you ended off because I had to log out completely and then come back in. But and I'm at work, everybody. So don't mind me on that aspect. But um understand this as far as the storyline goes with the whole Balaam thing. So Balaam, right? And then look up what these names mean. These names, it's astounding what these names mean. So Balaam, right? He is a legitimate prophet. This is what I want you to gain from this text. He is a legitimate prophet. Um, Yah is actually speaking with him. You notice that, right? Like he actually has a conversation. Like Yah intervenes and speaks with him. So it's not like he's just some bum, false prophet, if you will. He's a legitimate prophet. He knows how to access the spiritual realm, and he also knows that Yah's word is sound doctrine. No matter what Yah says, it is, it will not return to Yah void. So he understands these concepts. So what would be one takeaway from this whole entire conversation is that prophet or not, you're not supposed to just listen to them off top just because they're a prophet. We are not supposed to just uh you know um uh take their word and just run with it and take their word for face value and pour all of ourselves into their word just because they're a prophet.
absolutely not. That's right.
Because these prophets, prophets go amiss. Because he said, oh man, when he was on that road, and then what's interesting, he said that he got caught on the narrow road. So he was on the
Mm,
narrow road between two vineyards. Understand the metaphor and the symbology in all of this. So
mm-hmm.
he's on the road, on that narrow road, and then he gets stopped by the angel of Yah. And what's
We're
I'm
here.
sorry.
No,
I'm
we still
sorry.
see you. We still see you.
Okay. Okay. I don't know what just happened. Oh man. So okay.
You're fine. We hear you and we see you fine.
So he's on he the narrow path or what have you, and he realizes he's in sin, and he repents right, or he at least confesses right away. He's like, oh man, I'm definitely in sin, let me tighten up. So this lets you know that legitimate prophets, no matter, it's a couple of things that they're hit or miss. Sometimes they're hit or miss, and then sometimes they're using side angles because the text said, sometimes he uses sorcery to get the job done.
You
So
see?
he's so sometimes he's using sideways angles to get the job done. We
Mm-hmm.
cannot put all of our eggs in one basket of a prophet
That's right.
just because they're a prophet. Prophets are 1,000,000,000 times percent always correct when they're speaking Yah's word. That's it. When they're speaking their own word, they're
Come
gonna
on.
fall off
Yep.
profusely. When
Yep.
they're speaking a slanted word or hearsay or something like that, they're gonna fall off miserably. A prophet is only, I know this sounds redundant. A prophet is only in the
You cut out there. A prophet is only. A prophet is only. Da, 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 da,
are we back?
Okay.
Are we
Yeah, you
back?
back now. You back. A prophet is only what?
In the prophetic. I know this sounds redundant, but a prophet is only in the prophetic when he's speaking Yah's word.
Hallelujah.
Period.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely.
So how do you know a prophet is on point?
He's speaking a
You,
word.
but you have to know Yah's word for yourself.
Yep. That's
You have to know
absolutely
Yah's
right.
word for yourself. And this is just one angle out of many angles, as far as what what this particular storyline, um, brings to the table. But I did want to illustrate that fact, because people are like, well, how, why is Balaam even mentioned? He's a false prophet.
No, he
Um,
was a real prophet.
he's a
Yeah, he was
prophet.
legitimate. He was legitimate, but what Ronnie just said was one important point. He was using some shifty stuff at one point or another. And I submit that yes, he did give up the secret on how to get him. That's what I believe. I believe he did give up. Oh, he's gone. He did give up the secret on how to make sure that the children of Yasharal were lost. So let me put this in closing. Let me lay this out here for you. So you know the path that you're supposed to take. And since you know the path that you're supposed to take, when you see you're off course, train your eye to self correct. If your thought process is opposite of the will of Yah, if what you're thinking about doing is opposite of what would give him glory, turn that around. Because what he did was he kept dragging this conversation on and on. Do you know why he kept dragging the conversation on and on? Because he was hoping at one point or another that Yah would change his mind and that the riches that were promised to him would come. But he knew that he could not do anything opposite of what Yah said, because those was not his people. Those were not Balaam's people. Those were the people of Yah. And inasmuch as he continued to try to cajole the father, and that's what he was doing, he was really speaking out of both sides of his neck, because he knew that y'all wasn't going to change. But he says, okay, well, let's go try it again. All right, well, let's go. Come on, I'm going to go up there and talk to him over here for you. I'm going to go over here. He already knew. He already knew that that was not going to fly. But he continued to do it. He could, as if he was going to change. Hey, Anthony, as if Yah was going to change his mind. Thank you, Steve. Hey, Steve. Thank you all for everybody who came over with me today to the Lockhart perspective on Blog Talk. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Oh, and for everybody who gave in PayPal. Whoo, what a blessing you guys are to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Whoa. You know, the Father has a way of blessing right on time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, and what's that old passage that says, I've never seen his seed begging bread. I never seen the righteous forsaken nor his seed begging bread. Whoo, boy, you be feeling like you're about to go to the bread line. And then he sends a ram. But with that said, this is what he was doing. He was consistently going back, knowing that the Father was not going to change. He knew that. He knew that, but I truly believe he was hoping that he would, because the riches that were promised to him were very tempting. And he had already proven that he was, a little bit on the corrupt side, because he did tell true prophecies, but he was the corrupt cat. What do you think, Ronnie?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And maybe I wouldn't even say that he was corrupt. Well, I mean, I will say he was corrupt. But what I mean is that Yah actually uses any and everybody for whatever purpose at the moment, whatever purpose that he has planned out.
Well,
So whether he
apparently
was corrupt or not,
he used a donkey.
exactly, exactly. So, but whether he was corrupt or not is irrelevant. He probably needed someone that was halfway corrupt, to utilize the whole entirety of the situation, to make manifest the entirety of the situation, because a true prophet of Yah that is completely sold out to Yah is not going to even be in cohorts with,
Entertained.
right, with a Belic. So he had to use somebody who was
Slick, sly. Da, na, 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 slick or sly or he had to use this cap because I'm glad he left it. I'm glad he left us the story. And the reason why I'm glad he left us the story is because we should be able to see ourselves in it. And that's what I was saying earlier, is that we should be able to see ourselves in this instance. Each and every time that Balak told him, well, go back and ask him. Well, go back and ask him. He should have put a pin there. He should have put a period there, and yet he put a pin. He should have put a period. And that period was, I can only say what he tells me to say. And the last time he told me no, I'm going to tell you no. So no means no. But because he had a small piece in him that could be easily swayed and easily tempted and easily changed and that could be easily manipulated, so malleable was he. That is the reason why he was able to be spoken to so many times about this one thing. Imagine you're going back and forth asking for Yah to curse his own. Can you imagine that? To curse them. Yah put them there on that land. He knew where they were. He knew where they were positioned. He knew how close to Balak they were. He knew all of that. So why would you take, after knowing that Yah placed people in your lives for a purpose, place things, place individuals there for a reason, why would you, at the same time, because you want to prove your point, because you want to be selfish, why would you, Father, move them? And while you're saying those very words, you feel in your core that you're wrong. You know you're wrong. How much do you cost, Balaam? What is that one thing that will prevent you from getting where you're supposed to be with Yah? What is the one thing that it would take for you to turn around and consider for one moment doing the things that Balak was asking? And what is he asking? Is he asking you to compromise your life? Compromise the things that you believe? Is he asking you to compromise your belief system and believe that, hey, you know what? If you do this, he's got you. If you go over here and you say this, he's got you. So why don't you just do it? Go ask again. Go try it again. Asking Yah to go against his word. Praying amiss. Asking amiss. Asking knowing you're not right. Asking him things over and over again, and you know that that's not his will. Are you here with us now, brother?
Yes. Yeah.
So to put it into today's terms, what does it cost? What do you cost? Would you turn on people, that love the Father? Would you turn on your brothers and sisters just to get a little bit of something in your pocket? If we put it in today's terms, he knew the will of the Father. He knew Yah's will. He knew. How could you go all these times and hear him say the same thing? And here's the deal. I guarantee you that when he put the word in his mouth, because remember, there was a couple of times he put the word in his mouth and didn't tell him what to say. He put it in his mouth. So when he opened his mouth, what Yah was saying came out of his mouth. I guarantee you he was hoping he would change so he can get that skrilla, get that cash, get them ducats, get that money. Because he wouldn't have continued if he didn't. There would have been no reason for him to continue if he thought that he was going to open up his mouth and the same words was going to fall out. Ronnie, go ahead and take the last couple of minutes here before we close.
Well, we definitely need to stand guard at at the gates of our own hearts. We clearly have to do this because what plays out time and time again, we see it repetitiously. Just use, I don't know, just any organization as an example. More time, well, I don't know about more times than not, but quite often, substantially quite often, these organizations fall apart not because of our enemies, but because it's been infiltrated, and you have a turncoat amongst you. And this happens quite often. And we see
Mm-hmm.
we see this in I mean you can see it playing out. This is an excellent example, actually. Who they call Judas or what have you, Judas Iscariot, in the quote unquote New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
The Son of Man is betrayed with a kiss. You know what I mean? Like, this is a brotherly kiss, and there's a betrayal taking. That is so ironic. But this
Mm-hmm.
happens quite often. Organizations usually fall apart from the inside out, and we see
Yeah.
this being played out in the last day, where it says that brother will turn against brother. So this thing is going to happen. Why? Because it's already happened and there's nothing new under the sun. This thing will take place once again on a large scale when it comes to these end times. And we have to be guarding our hearts.
I think it's happening right now with all these pastors spewing certain things across the pulpit, telling people, "Oh, this is the will of God. Go down there and do
Okay,
this, or
okay.
go down there and
Yes,
do that."
yes. So this is what's going on. These are 2 points that I'm trying to make. Just because he's preacher man number one, just because he's preacher man 7,000 strong every Sunday, and he has to preach in a stadium somewhere, or just because he's worldwide televangelist, or just because the cliches that he makes sound quite profound, um, does not mean that he's saying everything that Yah is saying. You have to know the word for yourself. That's point one. And point two is, stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. Worry about you and your heart, and we have to make sure that our heart is on point. And if we couple those two things together, if we know Yah's word and we're guarding our own heart, I don't care what the preacher man is saying. Yah is speaking directly to me via the set apart spirit, and I already know the game plan because I'm listening to the spirit and not the words or interpretations or the traditions of men. And since brother in the last day, since brother is going to turn against brother, we have to guard ourselves and make sure that we're not the ones who's going to slip in the last day. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. If there is nothing new under the sun, then
At all.
that means famine is going to take place again. There's going to be a
Mm-hmm.
large devastation, a 7 year famine, if you will. If you utilize the Joseph account, the
Mm-hmm.
Joseph story,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and people are going to come into um, uh, uh, the quote unquote land of Egypt all over again, the proverbial land of Egypt all over again, trying to get bread. And people are going to be knocking at your door, or you might be the one who has a scarcity of bread. And will you sell out? You say that you won't, but hunger is a different
Hmm. Hmm.
it's a different beast entirely. I mean, so like we have to guard and let's not be the one who sells our brother out in the last day. And how do you do that? You got to know the word, and you have to stand firm and stand strong in the decision that you have already made. I hope
I
this helps.
so
And there's
agree.
many aspects. There's many aspects to the whole Balaam story. But I'm just highlighting those two. Those two came to mind when you were reading, out of many. But uh, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. Because, I want to first of all say hello to Stephanie C. Also, Lisa Hall, Woman of Spirit. Hello, hello. So good to see you. Rachel, hey. And Anthony, hello, hello. So it's like this. We know, we do know, we do know that there will be times in the very near future that those that we thought we could trust teaching biblical principles that we trust once upon a time are going to come in and try to persuade us. And then here's what's going to happen. You're going to think about what they're saying. You'd be like, wait a minute, this person's not talking correctly. And then you shake it off. Well, no, I'm tripping again. I'm I'm judging them and I shouldn't be. Maybe they don't mean any harm. Maybe they heard from the Father. Let me tell you something. I'm not some big famous, hey, William, I'm not no big famous, you know, evangelist or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I'm, as an evangelist in the old fashioned term when we were in Christendom, because we each had titles. Who cares about them? But my point is, I remember hearing y'all tell me one thing. And then good friends of mine would come and say, hey, guess what? This is going to happen. And this is what the Lord told prophet such and such. Prophet such and such. Do you watch prophet such and such? And I don't. I don't watch a lot of different people. I have a couple of people that I may watch, but I watch them as a colleague, not necessarily to receive anything from, right? So I didn't, but I would say, you know what? That is sort of weird because that goes completely opposite of what he showed me. Well, no, Prophet such and such been around a long time. Prophet Pork Chop. Reverend Pork Chop, Prophet Pork Chop been around for a long time. And it would never make me doubt what y'all gave me, but what it would do is it would make me sort of side-eye Reverend Pork Chop, because now I'm wondering, I know y'all's not schizophrenic. And at no time after this person would tell me that this person said X, Y, or Z, did any of what they said come true. It did not happen.
Absolutely.
It
And then
did not happen.
So we see over in Deuteronomy where it says that he actually, that Yah actually brings people to the forefront with a word that is, faulty. And it is a test to see whose voice you're going to listen to. Are you going to listen to man's voice, or are you going to listen to the voice of Yah?
That's right. Hey, Tammy. Yeah, that's absolutely right. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody. I just wanted to bring it because to me, it's a pivotal story about how, first off, the first major thing is that even the donkey could see the angel. And the next thing is, look how the angel was always on the ready. The angel was on the ready, had his sword out, ready to handle his business. Hey, Bobby J. Wells, you see, he had that sword out. So there's a lot of little nuances that may not be the big story, but there's a few stories, there are a few pieces in the story that are very important nuggets and nuances. That angel had his sword out. He was on the ready. The donkey's eyes were open and could see that Balaam didn't even know whose presence he was in and what this angel was attempting to do. Balaam had his mind on one thing. Let me figure out how I can get this money. Yes, he did. Because if Balaam wasn't trying to get the money, why did he keep taking it back to Yah over and over again? Saying, well, Balak said this, and Balak said that, and he wanted me to ask you again. We already got some stuff over here. Look, that's the reason why he was considered corrupt. Because he kept dragging the same thing to Yah over and over and over again. Now, if that's not a corrupt, hard-headed individual, I don't know what is. That is hard-headed. That you see what the will of Yah is, that he's already told you one time, but you keep going back to him with the same thing that goes against his word. That you got a problem. That's an issue. So that's the third thing. First thing I said is the fact that the angel was on the ready. Are we on the ready at all times? Do we have on our spiritual, our spiritual warfare outfit? Do we have our, helmet of salvation? Do we have our feet shod with the preparation of peace? Do we, above all, take upon us the shield of faith, wherewith we will be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked one? Are we on the ready like that angel was? And then, if Yah can't get a word through to you, has somebody that you feel is less than you in the most recent past, whether it be a child, whether it be somebody who may not be walking right all the time, but what they said was the word, and it sounds a little sound. Has he used somebody to come to you and give you a message because he can't get through to you, but he loves you? So he trying to get at you the same way that he did with Balaam? I mean, literally, a donkey spoke. The donkey had to lay down and say, why you keep hitting me, man? Haven't I been riding you around all of these years? That's what the donkey said. Haven't I been riding you around all these years? And you don't think I know what's good? Quit beating me. But the deal was, he could see. And all Balaam had on that road was dollar signs in his eyes. All he had was money on his mind. Yes, he did. Because he was not seeing. The next thing is, are you being attacked over and over and over and over and over again by Satan? Is he coming at you over and over again, trying to beat a topic into you that you know y'all don't want you to deal with? Is he coming to you, changing it up a little bit here or there? Well, look, it's got to be good for you because nobody would be doing it if it wasn't. Not everybody is being harmed by X, Y, or Z, so it's got to have some good to it. Is somebody around you like Balak to continuously ask you over and over and over again the will of the Father, and you know what his will is? Is there somebody around you constantly that's bringing you the same trash over and over again? And are you going back to the Father contemplating it? Well, they said if I do this, that I'll be able to keep this or that. Or they said that if I go do this, that I'll be able to go here or there. Well, that's what they said. And I'm just asking you, are you sure this is what you want? You sure you don't want me to do? I mean, because how am I going to have gas? And how am I going to get paid? And how am I going to have rent? And how am I going to pay the mortgage? How am I going to pay my house note? How is this? How about my car? Well, they said. You keep dragging him back that same conversation, the same way that Balaam did. How much do you cost, Balaam? How much do you cost? What is going to be that one thing that does so easily beset you? What is the one thing that one little bitty thing that would so easily beset you and get you out of the will of Yah? You know, it's a very thin line, right? Between love and hate. Well, it's a very, very thin line between the kingdom of darkness and the kingdom of Yah. And that thin line, believe it or not, is you. So, what's it all about, Alfie? How much do you cost, Balaam? Think about that. Think about that. And stand at the ready with his word. Stand at the ready, being willing to stand up for what he told you that you know is his word. Stand at the ready. Just recently somebody asked, how do we know what his will is? We know his will because we know his word. And if we don't know his word, that's okay. We need to study his word daily. Study his word so that you know his word. So that if somebody brings you something that's opposite, you stand at the ready like that angel did and you are prepared. Rightly dividing the word of truth. You got your sword out like that angel did. Okay? Don't be afraid. Tell the truth. Say the word. Speak the word in season and out of season. Meaning speak the word at all times. The Ruach HaKodesh will lead you and to show you when to speak and what to say. But the one thing you know to do is once the Father has given you a mandate or a directive, you know not to take it back to him and say, well, maybe I can just, maybe I can. Let's use the Sabbath as an example. Well, maybe I can go in at 10 a.m. and be back by 1. Or maybe I could, really? No matter how big or small it is, remember to do it his way. You guys, it's been 1 hour and 4 minutes already. Thank you guys, all of you all. All of you guys for being here. I so appreciate it. Have to step out for an important call. I'll be back if I'm able. Well, we're pulling out right now. But I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank Anthony. I want to thank everybody. Everybody who came over today. We had a decent, very nice sized crowd of people who came over to the Blog Talk Radio today. Steve, all of you guys that came, thank you. That means so much. I sure appreciate you. Okay? So I want to thank each and every one of you for being with us today. Remember what we always say on the Lockhart group. Remember what we always say here at the Lockhart Perspective, that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Most High. You guys, until I see you again, Lord bless, please continue to take care of yourselves and take care of one another. We'll talk soon. To receive instant notification each time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. Helping you along.